Welcome to Subramani. The amount of financial noise that gets published, that gets recorded, and that gets played back to you, whether it is a newspaper, whether it is television, whether it is blogs, vlogs, whatever, is just too much. I mean, we were never inundated with so much of data and so much of news when we were young, right? So go back to the 1980s when I was investing. There was a very expensive paper called Economic Times, which used to be priced at 5 rupees or 8 rupees or something like that, and it was like, oh my God, can we afford it? You know. That kind of pricing was there, and so obviously companies would buy, we would buy in our offices, no doubt, but buying Economic Times at home was considered to be a luxury. I did it because I thought I needed to look at the stock prices the minute it came, and my father would pick up the main newspaper, so I needed an Economic Times to look at the prices, because prices we were getting pretty late, but that's irrelevant. There was not much news. Secondly, I had no clue how much of that news was doctored, right? So there was there were no blogs or anything telling me that this is right, this is wrong, and we then also found very corrupt journalists, but we had no clue that they were so corrupt. For example, there was one journalist whose son was a member at the Bombay Stock Exchange at a time when the Bombay Stock Exchange membership was 2 crores, right? That is huge amount of money sometime in the 1980s. So those things happened, and we just passed through that. We had no clue that there was so much of information, so much of data that was available, and we were also very naive to believe everything once it was printed, it was right. But today you have a different problem. You just have too much data, you have too much of views, you have just too much of things reaching you. Just pick up anything and you can find thousands of pages of agreeing with you and thousands of pages disagreeing with you. Just go and check. Drinking hot water, does it help in reducing weight? Depending on how you ask the questions, you will find about 100 pages saying yes and 100 pages saying no. So which is right, which is wrong, which portal to go to for authentic medical information? I still have no clue. Right? So is it even worth going to the internet to seek medical information or dietary information? I think no. Best is to go to a doctor you trust and ask him, rather than go to Google and get confused. Now come to financial services. People are employed to write 800 words every day. That's not funny, right? 800 words every day on something which is relevant. So somebody will have to write an article on what are the personal finance lessons from the death of Mr. So-and-so, right? Is there something, or the learnings from the life of Mr. Ratan Tata? I mean, it's a relevant thing today, right? Would you do an article like that on Siddiqui, Baba Siddiqui? I don't know. But everything, it is possible to write an article and have some learning from it. Now, if you are a young investor, you are going to be inundated with this, right? So I've used the word after a lot of thought. You are going to be hit with just so much data that you don't know what to do. So what do? So first of all, when you want to buy a share, let's say you want to buy some share, go and read what the critics say about that share, right? So that's very important. For example, if you want to buy Zomato today at 280 rupees, when I'm recording, that's the price approximately. You will find enough people saying, oh, people have changed, everybody now likes to order, so therefore Zomato is very important. Zomato does home delivery, people don't want to go out, people don't want to dress up, drive and go out and eat, so people do this, so cloud kitchen, etc., etc. So it's a fantastic buy at 280. I can get you an exactly similar view saying if Zomato has to grow at 25%, and that's what I'm assuming you want to look at the rate, which means it has to double every 3 years. So it has to go from 300 to 600 to 1200 to 2400 over the next 10 years. Will it go? Will the EPS go up so much? Will the PE change? Is the market already saturated? Will there be a third player coming in? Of course, there is Swiggy coming in with an IPO now. Will there be a third player? Will there be a fourth player? Will there be a fifth player? player? Will Uber Eats and Ola Eats and all take over, right? We don't know any of those things, but you will find articles on both sides of the spectrum. Normally, when you read articles on both sides of the spectrum, you get a better view of what you think, whether it is right or wrong. You may not take a big position, you may take a smaller position, or you may completely change and say, I will not take a position at all, right? So read both sides of the argument, because you know that on the net you can find both. So go and type, is Zomato a good buy, or you say, is Zomato a bad buy, right? Or something, is it worth selling Zomato? Is it worth going short on Zomato? Ask these questions, ask irrelevant questions, all these questions are important. Similarly, when you are talking to a broker, let us say you want to buy a house in a particular location, go and meet a broker. You may or may not like him, and say you want to sell a house, right? Exactly opposite of this. Say I want to sell a house, and he will dissuade you and saying, oh sir, this is not a good time to sell, the prices are bad, you just can't get a good price, blah, blah, blah. He's just softening you for saying selling today is very difficult. So having heard that, now you go to another broker and you say you want to buy a house, and use all these arguments to say why buying a house is good, and he will then agree with you that yes, as I have some properties, I can show it to you, etc. Right? So both sides of the argument you get only by talking to 2-3 brokers, right? Similarly, when you see an article in the press, see the date of the article, see the title, see the name of the author, because all this is important. Today I go, I see the byline. If I don't like the byline, I just don't read, right? I know people what they are going to say. I don't see interviews of fund managers, because you know, end of the day they are going to say, but in this overpriced market we can find good bargains, so please continue your SIP. This is going to be the last line, right? So sometimes fund manager views don't matter, and in most cases, 99% of the cases, the prediction of what is going to happen, that steel will do well, cement will do well, all that's fantastic, but it is irrelevant to your portfolio, right? So if you hear that the cement industry is going to do well, maybe you will go and add more Ultratech to your portfolio, or Prism Johnson to your portfolio. But if they say it's not going to be good, are you going to sell? Are you going to sell on the basis that somebody said this is what is going to happen? That's for you to answer. Another important thing which I find very useful, I think Taleb or Morgan Housel or somebody says that, is go and read the old news, right? I use it very often when I'm looking at a company. So if I'm looking at a company, I go and look at last 5 years balance sheet, not so much at the numbers, but at the MDA, which is the management discussion and analysis, or the director's report, seeing what did they say 5 years back and did they actually achieve it, or see when they have achieved something, whether they are giving credit to the outside forces, or are they saying it's all our vision. Because when things go bad, people say, oh, it rained too much in Rajasthan, it did not rain in Pakistan, it rained in Kerala, it did not rain in Maharashtra, or any such reasons where they can attribute it to somebody else, or to the current political scenario, or anything like that, right? All that is pretty nonsensical, but you will find such articles, you will find such news items, right? Also, one more thing which I have found very useful is to read a lot of amateur content, in the sense that people who write blogs and who don't write very frequently, which means they write when they have something to say, right? Not people who are just filling up videos because they have some content, and because they got ad targets that they have to write 800 words every day because the newspaper has to be filled up. That is different, right? So look at amateur content. Some amateur, and a doctor who is writing about the pharmaceutical industry or something like that, or some travel blogs where they tell you that they went to this place, the place was good, place was bad. He does not run a travel agency, he does not run a hotel, he does not do anything like that. So he has no vested interest in saying you should go to Himachal Pradesh, or to Uttarakhand, or to Goa, or to Jagannath Puri temple. He has no such vested interest. He's just a travel blogger. He writes about these things. Whether he gets paid, does not get paid is a different thing. But here what I'm trying to say is, when you're getting information even about investing, be careful as to whom you're reading and what you're reading. too much of nonsense is available for investors also, saying like how I got 72% return by doing this. It is irrelevant. You go read, then you need to do a control order. There is just too much of current, I wouldn't say irrelevant, but current irrelevant for you as an investor articles available, right? You can pick up a 2015 or a 2020 article saying how the Dow fell so much percentage, how the Sensex crashed, right? You don't know how useful it is today, and or rather today you know it is useless, but question is how did you react on that day? Right, you heard that the Sensex fell 8%, Sensex fell 4%, Sensex fell 3%. You are now itching for action. You say, oh my God, I've already lost 3%. Now should I sell now and buy later, or things like that? Look at it in a completely different way. It does not even matter today in your portfolio whether you saw that headline or did not see. Let us say one day you went off in the morning, took a morning flight, so you missed that day's newspaper, so you didn't react. The next day you saw the newspaper, that day's newspaper, and you realized that if you had reacted, you would have reacted exactly opposite to what the market did, right? So consider reading books rather than articles. Consider reading non-sensational stuff. Look at data on a long-term basis. Look at it in the last 30 years. Everybody around you must have improved their standard of living, which means something right has happened in India. Look at data, right? $2,700 was India's per capita income in 1947. $2,700 was not too bad. It came down to $300 in 1991. It went to I think $1,100 in 2014. Now it is $2,700. So which means in the last 10 years it has more than doubled, right? It has gone from 1,100 to 2,700, about 1.5 times, right? So that growth is not bad. Now from 2,700 to 5,400 or even to 3,500, 4,000 is going to be much faster. So that data is useful, but why it went, you could find 1,000 reasons. Of course, people would say, oh, it is advent of Narendra Modi. I'm not saying it is not, but I'm saying you don't attribute these things. It doesn't matter. The question is, did it go up? Yes. Will it go up further? Is the government removing all the impediments? The answer is yes, go and buy. You don't have to worry whether you're buying a two-wheeler or a four-wheeler or a LCV or an HCV. Automobiles do well, banks will do well, insurance will do well, mutual funds will do well. Yes, pricing is important, but look at broad data. Don't look at very specific data and try to act on that, because that specific data may be irrelevant for your portfolio. Thank you.